Hello and welcome back to A Week in Film. I know it's been a while since I did one of these, but I wanted to get back into it because I just like talking about the movies I've watched all week. Full transparency, these are going to be a lot less effort editing-wise. This is almost purely an audio file, just a dump on my channel, so that if anyone's curious, you could check out what I've been watching and hear further thoughts on a movie that I watched this week. And also, I probably won't be able to get an episode up next week because I'll be on a vacation. But after that, I will be on it as much as I can. I might be watching less movies after that too because I'm finally getting a job. No! Sorry, but otherwise, yeah. I just wanted to get back into this because I just enjoy it. That's pretty much it. Anyway, we have 10 movies this week. Plenty to talk about, so let's jump right into it. So to start, on the 14th of July, which landed on a Sunday, I watched Despicable Me 4. So I was not really looking forward to this movie. I really only saw it because my family was seeing it, and I like seeing movies in IMAX when I get the chance to. And in the nicest way possible, or no, not the nicest way possible, but in the most predictable way, it's exactly what you'd expect the fourth Despicable Me movie to be like. At this point, I feel like Illumination kind of has the formula, like, down to a T. They're so good at making these, like, probably super cheap, super quick, super easy movies that get huge audience, reactions. A while ago, I also watched Maxine, and I walked out of my theater, and it was, I think, the first day or two of Despicable Me 4's release, and I swear it was like a tsunami of 8-year-olds walking out of that IMAX theater. It was insane. I ended up seeing my screening at 8 at night, and I think honestly I would have enjoyed the movie more if there were a bunch of kids. Hold on, that's I don't mean it like that. I think it would have been more fun if you had this just this crowd that was just having a great time. My parents were scream laughing. My little brother was enjoying himself. There were still kids in the audience, but not as many as a 12:30 screening or something. Yeah. So overall, I guess I enjoyed the movie. It's not it's on this weird in between where it's not obviously it's not outstanding, and it's not like a piece of high art or anything. But it's the kind of thing you could throw on and not pay attention to and look at and be like, huh, yeah, that's a movie. I just really didn't care for it at all. If you have parents to see this with, I definitely recommend. Hold on. This chair is so squeaky, guys. I'm sorry. If you have parents to see it with or younger siblings, I definitely recommend you do. Because this is definitely the kind of movie that you see with family. You know, you wouldn't bring your kids or your mom, and maybe you would bring your mom or dad to Horizon and American Frontier, but this is a movie you can show to them and they'll probably enjoy. Overall, I mean, I don't really have much more to say about it. I kind of feel bad for Steve Carell. Illumination must have him by the nuts or something. He's going to do a billion more of these movies. But I think this will be the end of the Despicable Me series because they wrap it up in a really they end it in a dance sequence with all the other villains from the movie or all the other movies. So it feels like the kind of perfect cutting off point for the series. Not that I really care, and if they release another one, they'll definitely still make a bajillion trillion dollars. But yeah, I guess it was okay. It was perfectly fine. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Would I go watch again? No, probably not. But again, if you have kids, they'll probably love it. And then the next day, Monday, on the 15th of July, I watched Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit. I'd been meaning to watch any of the Wallace and Gromits for ages now. I always hear people appreciate Aardman as a director and as an artistic talent a lot. So I was very excited because this is my first Aardman movie. And it was a great movie. The stop motion, claymation, really fits the whole aesthetic and I hate saying the word, but the whole vibe of the story that Wallace and Gromit is. The way Wallace is animated and the silent comedy from Gromit is really great. The story, I think, is really good too. It takes that classic like monster mutation story and subverts it pretty well with a rabbit instead of a werewolf. The movie is very funny. Again, it's animated brilliantly. The Wallace and Gromit theme is awesome. I love how it sounds. I love how upbeat it is, how happy it sounds. I also love how British the film is. I'm as American as it comes, but I always like seeing other places represented in film, and seeing this completely foreign environment of British and the way everyone talks and the accents and the mannerisms and all that stuff. It's just really cool. I'm just like, yeah, I guess there are some people that act like this every day. Just like a really fun movie. Again, I've said it like 4 times now, but the stop motion, the claymation is just spectacular. You know, it really is something special. It's just great. I will admit though, I can't watch, and I'm not saying that it's strictly because it is a movie that's more accessible to a younger audience. I don't know how to put it, but after watching Despicable Me 4 and then the next day watching Wallace and Gromit, it felt like just so draining for some reason. And that's a thing I notice about my film watching habits. It's that I almost need to reset sometimes. I feel like I can never really dive into a genre, or not even a genre, but just a style of film really well. Ages ago, like probably about a year ago, this time or about, I watched Quentin Tarantino's entire filmography without sleeping, and that was one of the most difficult things I've had to endure. Not because his movies are bad. I think most of them are pretty good or great, but it's just watching like 9 movies that look and feel similar, because it's the same director, of course it looks and feels similar, is just so difficult. And I'm not, and saying that, I'm not comparing Despicable Me 4 and Wallace and Gromit, but it's just like variety is very important, at least to me, when you're reviewing or watching a film. And I just think it's something that everyone needs to kind of look back on, because a lot of people in theaters that only really watch a Marvel movie, or one of those huge event movies, like I don't know, like Top Gun Maverick, or maybe even Twister right now, I'm not sure. But it's important to constantly challenge your palette so you can really expand it, because if you only consume one style or director's work, you really don't get a taste for how glorious and how amazing filmmaking really is. And you just really have to appreciate how much effort, how much talent, and how much variety there is in this wonderful genre of film, or this wonderful medium of art that is film. Sorry for the sidetrack or the tangent, but yeah, Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit, I gave an 8 out of 10. Really great film, really easy to watch. I just loved everything. I love how ugly everyone is too. Yeah, it's just a really fun film. A lot of cool little sight gags, and I think one thing I would do though is, before watching Curse of the Were-Rabbit, I would probably watch some of the short films before that, because I feel like I missed out on a couple little like jokes and running gags kind of thing. But yeah, I still enjoyed it. 8 out of 10. Solid movie. Moving on to the 16th, I watched Shoplifters, directed by a Japanese director I'm forgetting the name of. He also directed Our Little Sister and Monster, I want to say, and probably one more that I'm forgetting. But this movie, I've been meaning to watch Shoplifters forever, and I loved it. I adored it. It was an excellent movie. I think during this movie, it clicked in my head, because, you know, I will say I am kind of biased towards Asian film. I find myself really liking Japanese and Chinese and Korean movies, all Asian films. I just think it's because you know, it's a cultural thing. It's so different down there or over there in Asia, and seeing, you know, just like how the cities look, how people interact with each other, even the language, everything just feels so different, so foreign. It's nice. You know, it's a nice change of pace compared to the American, California, just everything. And this movie made me realize that what he, like in Shoplifters especially, it's almost like that joke where it's like place Japan syndrome, where as soon as something's from Japan, everyone goes, this is so advanced and cool because it's from Japan. And this movie put it into perspective for me, because you are watching like a bunch of homeless people, basically, or barely not homeless people, steal and lie and scam and things like that. But obviously, you know, it's done in a sympathetic way. It's not pointing down at them. But I could just imagine how much hate a movie like this would get here in the States, because a lot of people out here, and I'm sure a lot of people in Japan too, hate homeless people, or at least have a very heavy disliking for them. But for some reason, just seeing it in Japan is just like cooler. I don't know. It's a lot of it is the directorial style and the writing and the characters and all that. But yeah, the Shoplifters was great though. Visually, I really enjoyed it. It has a really nice visual aesthetic, even if a lot of it is place Japan syndrome. I want to say more. I'm really forgetting the director's name, but he brings a lot to the table. He makes everything feel so comforting and so warm. When you're watching this found family kind of work around each other and work together, it really feels heartwarming. You know, it almost makes you feel like you're part of the family, which I'm sure was the intent. Seeing the little boy and the younger girl grow up together, and seeing them, you know, seeing the boy have to steal, and seeing, you know, finding out all these things about the characters, and all these little character moments, like the older, or the younger woman, who works at like a for all intents and purposes, like I don't know what you'd even call it, a gentleman's club in Japan. I don't know, but it feels so just interesting, because everyone is doing what they can to make money. The grandma's scamming or whatever. It's so nice. Everyone's contributing. Everyone's working together. You get a lot of really sweet character moments, like when they're burning the girl's old clothes. They're hearing the fireworks. When they're eating cold noodles. For some reason, cold noodles have been stuck on my mind for 1 billion years now, or at least since the 16th. Yeah, just something about it. It is, again, I'll say it, like I know for a fact it is place Japan syndrome, but it's just so nice. It's so nice to watch a movie like this, because I really trust this director. As I've seen more and more from him, I really do believe that he is a very confident. I love his style. His movies just feel so comforting. Even this movie, up until like the final like 30 minutes of the movie, it feels so like you feel so hopeful. You really believe that this family is going to pull themselves out of the gutter kind of thing, and to watch it all come tumbling down at the end is heartbreaking. It's sad, and I loved it. I gave the movie a 9 out of 10. The score too, I almost forgot to mention the score. So just excellent. I loved every bit of music from this movie. It fits so well. It really is a family movie. For all intents and purposes, it is a family movie. It's hard not to watch and kind of think of your own family being put into this situation, or think like, I wonder what I would do if I met a bunch of homeless people like this. It's just really sweet. The movie's sweet, and I loved watching it. Yeah, again, 9 out of 10. It won an Oscar back in 2018 or 19, whenever it came out. Best foreign film. Absolutely deserved it. Just a great watch, and a great Japanese film. On to the next film. On the same day, I watched Men with my girlfriend, directed by Alex Garland. And I was really hopeful. I had heard a lot of bad things about Men. But I'm a fan of Alex Garland's work. I haven't seen Annihilation yet, but I have seen Ex Machina. I saw Civil War in theaters when it came out. I like both of those movies quite a bit. 7 and 8s, or 8s and 7, respectively. So I was hopeful. You know, people were talking a lot of shit, but I was like, you know what? Alex Garland is a horror director. Maybe this will work. And in the, how do I say this? In the nicest way possible, this might be like the worst movie I've ever watched. Okay, that's overboard, right? It's obviously not the worst movie ever, but watching, I'm gonna be jumping like right into spoilers because it's really hard to talk about this movie otherwise, or at least why I don't like it otherwise. Watching a man give birth to a man, 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 give birth to a dead husband is just so insulting to my intelligence and just so horrible and just frustrating to watch because I could tell they really wanted to do something cool with the Alex Garland. This is all that fucking asshole's creative idea or whatever. I can tell he wanted to do a story about women's trauma, and the whole movie, all the men in the movie are, if not weird, evil, and if not evil, just kind of off-putting. And seeing it all culminate in this like meaningless hallucination end scene in a way to make her like resolve her past traumas and thoughts and ideations is just horrible. I thought it was really just like in your face and obnoxious. I thought there was no real subtlety. I thought its artistic merit was almost non-existent. The only thing that I even kind of liked about this movie was the setting. I think a rural British town is a good setting for a horror movie. Maybe a good one for a change would be nice. And the movie is it's unintentionally funny because there are so many scenes where the girl reacts in such a not stupid, but in such a weird, odd way that it's like, yeah, of course they're gonna like not treat you weird, but they're gonna react weird when you're reacting like you just watch your family get hit by a car, right? I did not enjoy the movie. For some reason, my girlfriend really likes it. I don't know. It must be I don't know. It's a monkey brain thing. Yeah, I didn't enjoy the movie. I think artistically it's pretty bankrupt. There's no like strong voice. It doesn't even really feel like an Alex Garland film. Yeah, I gave this movie a 2 out of 10. I hated it, guys. Like, I really, really hated it. It was doing good for like 20 minutes. There were 20 minutes in there where I was like, okay, this is okay. Just, they needed to do more of a lot and less of mainly the end scene. Like, it's hard not to talk about the end scene when you talk about this movie, because in comparison, everything else is so forgettable and just dog shit. And the end scene is so memorably horrible, not in a cool way, like The Thing, in a bad way, like, this sucks, you know? Yeah, again, 2 out of 10. I definitely do not recommend you watching, unless you want to have fun, or you could convince your family to watch it, because I think this would be a very funny movie to watch with, like, your mother or something. Just to watch her go, oh my god, and, like, look away from the screen. Yeah, don't recommend. Alex Garland, stick to action thrillers. Now, on the 17th, I watched, first, We're All Going to the World's Fair, directed by the same guy who directed I Saw the TV Glow recently. And We're All Going to the World Fair. Man, what a movie. It's hard to... I'll get it out of the way right now. It's 10 out of 10. This is like one of the best movies I've ever watched. That's over-exaggeration, of course. It's just brilliant, though. It is such a special movie to me. It's a personal thing, because I hate saying from an objective viewpoint, because you can't objectively judge art. Sure, there are little things you can judge, but most movies can't be given an accurate point rating that everyone will agree with. But We're All Going to the World's Fair, it just felt like such a personal movie. As silly as it sounds, it gives me hope to become my own film director one day. It makes me really hopeful that one day I'll be able to make it, and I'll be able to make my own movies, and it gives me hope. I love the visual aesthetic of the movie. I think it's early 2000s internet horror thing, or internet immersive MMO thing is just so cool. The main actress's performance, this is like one of the only films she's been in, to my knowledge. It's her breakout film, I think. It's just so outstanding, and she's such a talented actress. And sorry, I'm There's just so much to like about this movie, and a lot of it comes down to the way it's filmed. A lot of it's filmed in handheld and like from a laptop and from a phone, and it's just so personal. I love personal, like it almost feels like a passion project. I love films that look and feel like this because it makes the viewer, whether you want to do filmmaking or not, it makes the viewer realize, because everyone has a preconceived notion on what a film is, right? When someone says, when you hear the word movie, a movie probably flashes into your brain. Maybe it's The Godfather, maybe it's Madagascar, maybe it's Mad Max, maybe it's Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever it is. But seeing a movie like this that is objectively, or not, I gotta stop saying objectively, that is so unlikely to be anything like the movie you're thinking of right now, is so nice. Because anything can be a movie. It doesn't matter what it is, what's happening. Anything could be a movie. And this movie proves it because it's so just artistic. It's so specific. It's so just like intense and focuses on this one thing so hard. It's hard not to fall in love with because it feels so personal. The performances were excellent, especially from the main actress and from the bald man I forgot the name of. Man, it's just it feels like a movie that you made with your friends, and you're watching it and you feel nostalgic for these things you never did, and you feel so emotionally attached to this this chunk of people that are doing this challenge, the World's Fair challenge, and it's hard not to adore. I love this movie. Again, I gave it a 10 out of 10. Visually spectacular. Its soundtrack is spectacular. Performances are spectacular. Everything about it's like a comfort movie for me. And it's important to appreciate simple but especially great movies like this, because it's how movies like this is how you go from an independent filmmaker to an A24 big budget filmmaker, because to my knowledge, I Saw the TV Glow was at least $1 million. Yeah, I know I'm going through films a lot faster this time, but I really don't want to force myself to talk about movies that I don't care about. I don't think you guys want to hear me ramble about Despicable Me 4 for 6 minutes. I certainly don't want to do that. Yeah. I'm going to do the mid-break right here. I'm going to get a drink of water. I am going to collect my thoughts a bit more because I know I've been really rambly. This is my first time doing this in quite a while. Yeah, stay tuned because I have 5 more movies to talk about. And while you're gone, I mean, you're just looking at the monkeys anyway. So, yeah, enjoy the monkeys a little bit more. Hey y'all, welcome back from the mid-break. I just have to show you guys something real quick before we jump back into the movies. Guys, you have to see this monkey. I'm going to try to remember to. I'm going to flash a picture of it on screen. It's insane. This is like a designer monkey or something. It's unbelievable. They really make animals like this, guys. It's nuts. One thing I've been forgetting to do with these movies is, I write like I don't know exactly how much it is. I write like a half page. And by a half page, I don't mean like 3 paragraphs. I mean like half of a page about each movie that I watch. And I kind of want to start reading it off, because I think it'll help me remember what I want to talk about, and it'll also get you an insight on how I watch and think of movies. So on the same day as we're all going to the World's Fair, I watched Princess Mononoke in theaters for Ghibli Fest. I'm going to start with my little review because, I don't know, I think it fits. Yeah, it's a rewatch, but that doesn't stop the film from being absolutely excellent. A tale as old as time, the battle between man and nature, and seeing it characterized as gods and beasts and emperors and lords feels so appropriate. The score is operatic and grandiose, fitting the almost planet-wide narrative of the film. The animation work is even more high quality than ever, with so much life and character being pumped into even into soulless beasts. The writing characters is outstanding too, and seeing the last of the gods fall through the eyes of a young forest warrior felt so appropriate. It's moving, powerful, and easily Miyazaki's best film. So yeah, I think I think that summarized my thoughts pretty well. Princess Mononoke is one of those movies that I in my head I don't like the idea of rewatching, and then I went to rewatch and it was just brilliant. There's this thing that, I mean, I can only really think of two movies off the top of my mind. I really like when beauty is in films, and I don't mean like people beauty. I mean nature. I mean the great expanse of the world. And my only other example of this is with Once Upon a Time in the West, directed by Sergio Leone. And basically the opening scene of that movie, or like the fourth scene in or something. I'm forgetting her name, but the lead female is taking a carriage to the house that she is supposed to meet her husband at, and there are these huge shots of the Great American West just like expanse. You see these huge rock formations and these open roads, and it reminds you of how beautiful the world is, and to the point where it made me cry when I was watching it. And Princess Mononoke, in the opening chunk of the movie, or in like the third scene of the movie, does this exact thing. It shows the beauty and the just gorgeous nature. Yeah, it made me tear up. It didn't make me cry, but it made me tear up. And the whole movie keeps up this gorgeous look. And you know, as I said in the review, it looks so. It's this primordial tale of man versus nature. You know, you see the profit-driven warlord queen, princess, whatever, trying to literally kill the god of nature so they can make more iron and get more money. It feels so appropriate, and watching this young romance play out is so heartwarming, and it really makes there's stakes in the story because you care for both of these characters, and they're clearly fighting on the side of the forest. And watching the diplomacy fail, the last few attempts of diplomacy fail, instead of deciding to battle, is just it feels so just ugh. I wish there were better words for it, but excellent movie, or not excellent, outstanding movie. I stand by that it's, if not Miyazaki's best, like in his top 3 easily. I think the only movies that the only movies that I think are maybe better than this are like Porco Rosso, which I'm an enormous fan of, and I don't know, I think that's it, guys. Yeah, this movie is really special to me. It made me really appreciate Hayao Miyazaki as a director. Because, you know, I'm not to like crap on his other films, but a lot of his other films are low stakes. They're a lot more like personal, and this film feels so, like I said in the review, it feels so planetarily important. You know, it's a battle of nature. It's a battle of gods. It's a battle of lords and gods, and it's just, man, what a movie. Shout out to the asshole sitting behind me who was like screaming at the screen. It made for an interesting viewing experience. This was for Ghibli Fest. Definitely watch all the Ghibli Fest movies in theaters. I'm going to try and catch Ponyo. That's next, start of August, I think. Yeah, I really enjoyed Princess Mononoke, 10 out of 10. I watched it in Japanese, masterclass, basically. Yeah, on to my next movie. Look, you're going to hear the page turn. How cool is that? On the 18th of this week, which was Thursday, I watched first Tales from Earthsea. So, Tales from Earthsea is a Goro Miyazaki movie, Hayao Miyazaki's son, and I want to say it was his directorial debut. And I was really not sure what to expect because I had heard a lot of bad about Goro Miyazaki as a director, how he's just not as good as his father, how he just like artistically is just not there. He's just not on that level, which makes sense because that's like if your dad was like Picasso, and then you drew like a little stick figure cow, and the entire world saw it, And they were like, dude, you're nothing like your dad. Like, yeah, of course you're not. I've been around for like 20 years. I'm hopeful that Goro Miyazaki will get better in the future because something Puppy Hill or whatever it's called I hear is really good. I'm going to be watching that for Ghibli Fest once it comes out. Sorry for the break in recording there. I had to do some real quick, but from the book on Tales from Earthsea, I wrote, the setting really carries this movie incredibly far. For some reason, even with Ghibli's typical fantastical setting, medieval fantasy feels so alien. Now, even with that benefit of the fresh setting, the film still feels under-delivered upon. For the opening scene being a dragon battle and the subsequent scene being a discussion on how to get rid of them, they don't appear like at all. There's also way too little witchcraft and sorcery involved in this movie with an archmage, in a movie with the archmage. Everything manages to feel generic and almost void of a time era. Maybe I just wanted Skyrim the movie, but it really doesn't do much excellent. Yeah, so I think the biggest flaw with Tales from Earthsea is that it artistically didn't have more confidence. I really wanted, like I said there, I wanted even more fantasy. I wanted to see because it's almost classic European fantasy. It's like these huge, this huge city full of slave trading and huge markets and I got silk from Persia and all that stuff and the dragons at the start, and the film just doesn't do anything with it. So much of the film takes place on a little farm on the outskirts of town, where it could honestly be set in 1960s Japan and it would still feel the exact same. It just feels so under-delivered upon and so just boring. The characters are also really stale as well, and a lot of them just are either boring or just nothing. They're one characteristic and then that's the character. It's again, it was Goro Miyazaki's directorial debut, and it just really underwhelmed me. A lot of what is great about the movie is the Ghibli powerhouse that he has working for him. The animation's great, obviously, and I remember the score being pretty okay. Even if I think the score did feel pretty generic, actually, because again, the whole movie feels generic. You could replace you could replace these characters with gray goo people, and it would still feel pretty much the same. Yeah, I know I already said it, but I wanted more fantasy elements. I wanted more spells. I wanted more witchcraft. I wanted more potions. I wanted more dragons, more shields and swords. It just feels so, I gave the movie a 6, but honestly, thinking about it, I could drop it to a 5, because it was just so generic and just nothing. The final scene is okay, I guess. A lot of the movie that I do remember is just the animation style, because for some reason it feels really I don't want to say retro because it sounds annoying, but it feels so new, I guess. I don't know. It feels you know what it feels like? It feels like the animation is really smooth in this film. Everyone is really visually smooth. Everything, in memory anyway, everything looks smooth. It makes me think of those horrible Batman but Studio Ghibli on the AI generated websites. It's that same smooth, just flat rounded look. I think it looks pretty good in this movie. But hey, how dangerous is it to compliment Ghibli animation, huh? I know, really breaking norms with that one. Anyway, yeah, 6 to 5 to 6 out of 10, I don't know. It could either go either way. And then later that day with my girlfriend, I watched The Taking of Deborah Logan. I didn't know what to expect. My girlfriend really liked this movie, and I trusted them. Actually, I didn't, actually. Most of the movies they've showed me have been 5s, but I was hopeful, and I like horror. I hope you guys can't hear that too much. Sorry for that. Yeah, so from the book, The Taking of Deborah Logan, I love the idea of found footage, but the more and more films I watch made in the style, the less and less I like them. This film manages to highlight almost everything I don't like about the style of horror perfectly. The poorly written story, the crappy dialogue, the bad horror, and the reliance on jump scares. Everything that could feel crappy in this film does, and with all those previously mentioned tropes. The film does, with all... the film, for not even being feature length, drags on and feels way too long. The base premise of the film is neither scary nor interesting. None of the docu crew is interesting. Everything just feels so sluggish and lackluster that it's hard to care about anything that's happening. Only redeeming factor was the occasional so bad it's funny moments. So, The Taking of Deborah Logan, this is like I said, I like the idea of found footage, and saying that I haven't seen the Blair Witch Project, which is like the found footage movie, but in the found footage movies that I've seen, which honestly I couldn't even name one, I just know I've seen them before, I like the idea of the genre. I like this like minimalist filmmaking style. This film was probably made on like $25. But it just feels so lazy. It's so boring to watch. You watch an old lady go crazy, and it's linked to some dude who killed people like 100 years ago, and then the old lady almost eats someone, and that's it, the end. It's just so like lackluster. It's so boring. It feels so poorly written. It's hard to care about anything in this movie, because it's just so, ugh. I hate to do sound effects, but it really is just so, ugh. I don't recommend this movie like at all. I gave it a 3 out of 10, which I think is pretty fitting. There are, like I said, there are some funny moments, unintentionally, I'm sure. Everyone is just unlikable in this movie, besides the not Deborah Logan, but Deborah Logan's daughter. Everything is just, ugh. It just feels so sluggish to watch. It doesn't feel like something's happening, which is okay for found footage, but if you're gonna do that, I expect at least good scares, and this movie has absolutely horrible scares. Like, I don't want to sound like too heavy on the movie, but it's like really bad, guys. It's like really bad. Again, 3 out of 10. I really don't recommend you watch. Just boring. If you're gonna watch on your laptop with your headphones on at max volume, and maybe you'll go ah once, because there are some loud moments in the movie. Anyway, on the next and final day, on the 19th, yesterday, I watched first Girl Interrupted. So, not to talk about for Girl Interrupted. From my book I read, was really expecting much better from this film. Now, I know it sounds silly, but I think it's simply a gender thing. This movie, for all intents and purposes, feels like a worse female version of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The movie just feels so much less impactful and special than Cuckoo's Nest, though. The camera work feels so flat and bland, and the film never feels as frightening or impactful as it probably should. The characters, too, just so boring and predictable. The movie clearly really does want to be more risky and experimental, but the confidence just ain't there. Really wish it was better so I can manipulate women better, hee. Well, barring that last sentence I wrote there, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is just a really disappointing film to me. No, not One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That movie's excellent. That's a 9 out of 10, easy. Maybe even a 10, I have to rewatch. Girl Interrupted is a very disappointing movie for me. It's one of those movies that, again, I know is really related to, like, womanhood and, like, the female experience or whatever. One of the opening lines, or sometime in the movie, a line is literally, it's in the opening monologue from Winona Ryder. She goes, "But maybe I'm just a girl interrupted." It feels so like, this is like, you see that on an edit, I just didn't get a lot from this film. One of the things, because it was so similar to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I was constantly comparing it. And one thing you don't appreciate about that film until you watch this film is that all of the characters in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest feel so memorable and unique. And even though a lot of them are kind of gimmick characters that just have like one thing about them, they all still feel like characters. They feel characterized, you feel like you could really meet these people through a little glass window on the phone. And it's just so disappointing when you go to look at Girl Interrupted and all these characters are actually just like one gimmick, just boring. Winona Ryder, her character is easily the best in the movie, and the blonde chick I'm forgetting the name of, They're really good, but you follow they're just like straight up uninteresting and just hard to watch because they're so not sympathetic. You really never feel like you're rooting for them to get out of the asylum or whatever. It just feels so disappointing. I wanted to like this movie a lot more, but the filmmaking is so bland. The characters are so boring. The score is so just like right? All the original music made for the movie. There's so many things about this movie that could have been so much better if the director was just willing to experiment more. They mess around a little at the start of the movie with the time dilation thing from Winona Ryder, where she's constantly jumping back and forth through time. It's just part of her character. I wish they did a lot more with that. I wish they flashed to when she's out of jail already, or out of the ward, out of the asylum or whatever, or anything really. I wish they flashed back to her childhood more, and she felt like she was living that again. I just wish there was so much more in this movie, but they just don't do anything. They go for a standard good guy, bad guy story, and Winona Ryder literally says it at the end of the movie. Her character goes like, "You just want to be the bad guy." It just feels so not impactful and just so like boring. Someone told me if the book is better, and this movie is absolutely better in the book. Like, I just know for a fact. The narrative just feels so much more fitting for a book, where you have like 500 pages to detail these characters. But when you convert it into a screenplay, if Winona Ryder wasn't so talented, and the other girl wasn't like if the actresses were not as talented, this movie would have been like a 4. But because Winona Ryder and the actresses are so talented, and there are a couple little moments that I really like, especially with the chick who only eats chicken. I think this movie just barely edges out to be a 5 out of 10. I wanted to like it a lot more, but it was just average. It feels like it ran on way too long, and not much was really accomplished with what felt like extra runtime. There are some nice character moments though, like in the ice cream shop. 5 out of 10. Check it out. If you are a female, which if you're watching this channel you probably are not, I think you'd like this movie a lot more. But yeah, that's all I've got for Girl Interrupted. On to the final movie of the video. On the same day, later, I watched Love Lies Bleeding. The book review reads, "I had no clue this movie would be anything like this. There's something so comfortable and familiar about this movie. I guess you could call it sleazy. Whatever the feeling is, it's hard. It had me hypnotized. Visually, the dry, seedy, rundown town and cool, rickety gym looked so nice. The actresses were outstanding, fitting that sexy, horny, violent role perfectly. I love how oddly fantastical the film is too. How it treats roids as an almost magical super serum. It feels so silly and over the top, almost like an 80s show. The score was pretty sweet too, even if it felt kind of tame for the extreme nature of the film. Totally surpassed my expectations and delivers a lovely, crazy, memorable time. I really wish I'd watched this movie in theaters. This feels like the kind of thing you appreciate a lot more if you saw it with an audience, like with a crowd. But yeah, I wanted to watch this for ages and it's finally on Max now. I really like this movie. Back to the desert thing, it feels so familiar because I live in a desert. I don't live in like Arizona or wherever she is, but I live in a very deserty spot of California, and it feels so like seeing all these like, it's not that run down out here, and it's not like that, I guess, what would that be? I don't want to embarrass myself with cardinal directions, but right. On the map, right, to the right. It's not nearly like that out here, but it feels so just like these huge open desert scapes where it's just so hot and dry all the time and everyone's always sweaty. It feels so just like yes, I could be there right now and it would make sense, you know? Yeah, I think the movie does an excellent job at telling a very like, just like emotional story, and not emotional in the sense that it's like sad, but emotional in like rage and frustration and like what's the word for it? Like erotic. It tells this really like powerful emotional story through these two the two female leads. I just love so much about the movie. It's so violent. The film is so horny. Like, this director is, like, unbelievably horny. Like, they should lock this guy up. No, it's not that serious, but it is just good. I just love the movie. It's an 8 out of 10 pretty easily. I wish they did a bit more with the score, and I would say I wish they did more with the fantastical, like, giant woman thing, but I think the amount they leave the viewer with is, like, kind of perfect. It feels like right before it's getting absurd and right before it's getting absurd and right after it feels like a one-off gimmick. It feels kind of built up too, actually. The muscle show is awesome. There are like 4 deaths in this movie or something. It's crazy. So many nice moments, so many nice character moments. The movie moves really quickly too. Like, this is a really high-paced movie. It rushes through the story like crazy. I loved it. Yeah, 8 out of 10. I know the movies after the break where I started reading the book, my thoughts were definitely a lot more scattered. I'm going to probably start reading them after, when I'm, like, done with the proper review or whatever. But yeah, overall, check out Love Lies Bleeding. That's pretty much all I got. That's all I watched this week. I would talk about Longlegs, which I watched last week, but I don't care to. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you stick around. I hope you don't mind the lower editing, just the flat screen. I just want something to have audio with. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Stick around, because I'm going to keep doing these, like, as long as I can, because I love just rambling. I know it is definitely, like rambles that are way too long, and I stutter a lot, but I got to get back into this. I just like talking, guys. Can you tell I like talking, guys? Yeah, for real, though, that's all I got to say. I hope you have a wonderful day. Stick around on the channel, because I will be uploading a lot more than just this, I hope. I want to do a lot more with that camera and my infamous now camera test plus cute cat :3. Yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the theaters. And please subscribe, please!